Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed and alive and feeling great on this Tuesday on the season six.
I'm happy to hear that you're blessed and alive. I'm happy to hear that. Season six, yes. Today is the first official day of season six. I made it to season six. 126 shows as of right now. So excited about that and what season six will have to offer. But before we go into what we've got to talk about tonight, how was your weekend?
Not long enough, but
Ah,
you know, no complaints. I got a lot of rest. This week,
what
oh,
we've got to
sorry
talk
about
about
that. This
tonight.
week, there we go. This week was the first time I really got some good rest. I had last week was like long days, so I got a lot of sleep in, chill with the kids, but a relaxed weekend for me. No complaints at all.
Mine was actually the complete opposite. It wasn't a lot of relaxing. I had a birthday event. I had my niece's law school graduation. Then we were out on the streets for a bit celebrating. So we were outside. It was definitely giving summer, and it was definitely giving we outside. Because when Canada is cold, we are not outside, so we were definitely outside this weekend. So really enjoyed myself, spent some time with friends that are family, and it was beautiful. So I'll say that.
That's
You,
good. I'm
you
glad.
don't have to worry about that as much because I mean you live in Hotlanta, so
Oh yeah, it's been hot too. It's like 90s all week, like 93 plus all week.
there you go. So you guys are outsiding all the time, where we don't get that. We get from about end of May to maybe we can stretch it into early October, but generally it's more June, July, August to early September, and then we're gearing up for fall. So like we enjoy ourselves. And Caravana weekend, for those of you who don't know, if you've never been to Toronto, I would absolutely suggest you come to Toronto during Caravana weekend, which would this year is going to be about August 1st to the 5th. So that's the Thursday, 5th to 6th, the Thursday through to the Monday. The Saturday is the huge parade. We usually get a million and a bit people from all around the world on the streets, jumping and waving. It's a whole thing. So I would definitely suggest, if you have never been to Toronto and you want to come outside of ball season, is to come during the summer for Caravana. So have you ever been, Twins? I've never asked. Have you ever been to Toronto for Caravana?
I sure have. I've been there before. I think I've been to two Carolinas.
I figured you would. You've had some flavor in your life, so I know you've had some West Indian in your life, some Caribbean. So
Yeah, this is before marriage. I did this,
oh,
yeah, young bachelor time traveling.
oh, okay, so that's very different.
Very different. Very, very, very different.
So you were jumping and waving with us.
I'm not saying I was jumping away, but I was definitely enjoying the view, the
Enjoying what
views,
Toronto has to offer.
right? Then we went to a club. I can't remember the club. It's probably closed now because it's over 10 years plus. But it had three floors,
It
three
was
floors,
probably government.
and each floor played a different genre of music. It was crazy. It was like a movie. It was jam packed.
It was definitely government. They have different floors, different rooms. It's now a condo, but welcome to Toronto. Everything eventually becomes a condo.
It's 10 years ago. This club's down here. We have Atlanta Day here no more. So trust me, everything evolves over time.
That's what they call it, or gentrification. But I digress. Moving on. So season six, we are opening them up with an interesting topic, and it was prompted by a clip that I shared with you, and we both had kind of different opinions. You gave your opinion. I didn't quite give my opinion on this clip, but as you gave your opinion, I thought to myself, sometimes as men and women, we're speaking different love languages. And I don't mean in reference to the five love languages. It's just the way we love and the way we show love and how we communicate love. The theme of this show is always going to, communication will always come back to it. but there's different ways that we communicate love that we don't always understand each other. And I think this was one of the ways, as the man was talking about it, that it could be misinterpreted as something else on both sides. If a man does it and if a woman does it, are we misinterpreted this action, or am I misinterpreting? Is this just not love and it's something completely different? So I'm going to play the clip, and then I'm going to have us both chime in on it and the audience as well. So give me a moment and go.
This is what a lot of men don't understand about checking in. We take checking in as if it's women trying to be too controlling, micromanaging. A lot of times we don't know how to tell them that without hurting their feelings, so we just kind of grit and bear it and end up silently frustrated. And little things like this can cause a rift in relationships. With my wife and then being able to counsel so many different couples, I can see some of the gray area and how women show up and care and love for us in ways that purely masculine energy often can't detect. Masculine energy is very linear, is very binary. We function in spaces of all or nothing, right or wrong. A lot of times we can't see the nuances in some of these ways our women show up for us. When I'm out and about, what we perceive as checking in, now I understand is more so she just want to be included in my world. Take the onus to let her know, baby, I'm about to go here. You need something? Or I just ran into traffic. It's going to take me an extra 45 minutes. Why she got to know all of that? For some of y'all, it's because they don't trust y'all. But I'm talking about for the brothers who ain't stepping out, it still feels like it's too much, impairing our ability to just have our own freedom and autonomy to do what we need to do. When we take that extra step to include, becomes intimacy, extra inclusion. Turned into intimacy, safety, trust, where now she don't even need me to do it. But I still do it because I know it does something to her heart to know my man gonna give me the information even if I don't ask for it.
All right. What are your thoughts?
So here's the thing. I am a fan of the check-in. I am a fan of the check-in. I am also a fan of sharing locations. So and not in a creepy way, just we live in a society that you never know what could happen. So I share my location with my best friends. I share my location with my daughter, and I recently shared my location with the new man in my life. Because I'm like, if anything were to happen, I think just in case they can check to see where I am. And my best friend has done that. She'd be like, yeah, I wanted to come by your house. I checked you were home. I came by, right? Like it was kind of one of those. So I'm just a big believer in that. And I kind of want to know because I'm a worry wart. So I worry. Like if you say you're going to be somewhere and do something or call me at a certain time and all of that, for me, it's a worry, it's a safety, it's a security. It's not I'm checking up on you. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just I start to worry if, like, if my boyfriend says, babe, I'm be home by 10:30, I should call you by 11, and it's like midnight and I haven't heard from him, I start worrying like anything could have happened, especially in my situation when I don't live in the same city as the person that I'm with. That's difficult. So for me, it's my way of showing love. It's my way of showing care. I agree with him. There are some women where it's a trust thing and we're doing this because I don't trust you and all of those things. And even going back to the location, I don't ask for his location, but I share mine. I do it even on my Uber and Lyft app, right? I share it with my daughter so that every time I take an Uber or Lyft, my daughter actually gets an alert and kind of follow me wherever I am. And I did that because I didn't have a significant other in my life at the time. I'll do that now with my significant other. And I just think it's safety, it's love, it's one of those, like that's love for me, not insecurity or anything. So that's my initial thoughts.
Okay, my turn.
I was like, you're like, fuck all what you just said.
I mean, so for me, when it comes to that, I don't have a problem with share my location or tell you what I'm doing, right? So for example, this previous experience, I work all day. So after work, I'm like, hey babe, I'm going out with the fellas. We're going to play pool, going this area in Georgia, and she back home around XYZ, right? So I'm going, the time frame in XYZ, right? Now, the problem I have with the whole check-in thing is like, oh, how long you gonna be there? Who's all there? It's all the additional questions. Like, no, I'm not doing all that. And the reason I don't do that because when I let any of my ladies go out, well, let me rephrase that. When my lady goes out, have fun, right? Just don't come back home at no crazy ass time, right? I'm not micromanage you. Just let me know, hey, babe, we made it to location. All right, we're heading here next. Cool. It could be a simple text. That's all I need to know what's going on. Simple as that. I don't have time to be worried about what you're going to do. Because at the end of the day, we all know this. Women cheat better than men anyway. So I'm not here and trying to worry about where she's at, who she with, how long. Nah, I got enough pressure in the world to worry about what you're going to do. And at the end of the day, if you're my woman, you're representing me. And you're going to be respectful to me without me even have to tell you where you're going or what's, you know what I mean? Like, that's one less thing I need to worry about. So that's how I feel about that. And then with the phone sharing, I do share my locations, not a problem. But once again, don't be calling me and texting me, oh, where you at? And clearly you can see where I'm at, right? Or what are you doing? Like, we're not doing that. Like, I had one mother and I had one father. Don't need more of that. And then to add another layer to that, how frequently are you hearing about men being kidnapped and XYZ? Now, does it happen? Yes. It ain't too often you hear black men, 5'11" and up is getting snatched. It's very rare. And I don't do drugs. I don't do nothing crazy. If I get pulled over, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna call you right away and put you on FaceTime or whatever phone you may have. You may have an Android, so Google whatever you have out there. I'll call you in video. Say, hey, just stay on the phone with me while I'm getting this ticket. But besides that, the micromanagement, I don't like that. But I'll let my plan.
That's the funny part, is that you equate it to micromanagement and I equate it to protection, which is why the title, Are We Speaking the Same Love Language? Because I think in your response, it's almost like this has happened to you and it's been in a negative way. Where with I don't have a negative intent behind it. And like I said, I don't ask for my partner's location, but I share my location because, to your point, I'm kidnappable. Okay. Like, I'm definitely getting trafficked. Like, let's just this is why I share my location with my friends. I'm always like, just in case anything happens, you guys can track me down. I have all of my best friends' addresses in my phone in case anything happens to my police. The police, they can know where to go to find. Like, I do certain things just for safety reasons. And for me, that's part of my safety with my man, to know that, like, and God forbid he doesn't hear from me, like, he knows where I am and he can, track my location, or if I'm in an Uber or stuff like that. But I think how men see it, and sometimes it's based on your experience, is that the woman's trying to not check in, but check up.
Makes sense.
With two different things, right? A check-in and a checkup is very different. Like, me just being like, hey, baby, if you're going to be an hour late, and more than an hour, late, please let me know for whatever reason. But what are you doing? Who are you going? I think that's taking it a little too far.
Right. And then also a simple text message will kind of alleviate all that stuff too as well. Like, I understand that you can't really talk, look, music too loud, you're in a bar, XYZ. I don't need you going outside or run to a bathroom just talk to me on the phone. Just send me a text. It ain't that deep. It's not that serious. I mean, that's how I look at it. And also, I know we're talking about relationship, but in my whole life existence, I have never got a call from a guy saying, hey, bro, I'm in a bad place right now, man. Can you send a phone with me? Or, hey, bro, can you come and check on me? No. But I have calls from plenty of women, girlfriend, friends, whatever. Hey, can you send a phone with me as I drive home? Or, I'm in the place. Can you meet me halfway? I got them calls. I got them messages. But the point I'm trying to make is that women are more likely to get snatched than men. It's just a simple fact. It does happen. I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to see him sensitive like men out there ain't getting grabbed, snatched up. It does happen. It does, clearly. But I'm looking at it as a bigger picture when it comes to men and women. You ladies are the ones who are more likely to get snatched. And it's just that simple.
But to your point, it isn't like, I consider that part for me. But my part for my man has always been like, and from my experience, despite the fact that I live in Toronto, Canada, and I have for most of my life, my significant others, for the most part, 95% of them have lived on the other side of the border, right? And for me, it's always like, and I generally date big, tall, black men. So I'm always like, black like being a black man in America is hard, right? Like the moment you walk out our door, I don't feel comfortable, right? Like if I live with someone, the moment my husband used to walk out the door, and he would do so in a military uniform, and I still didn't always feel comfortable because he's a big, tall, 6'4", 6'5" black man, right? And so that for me is the thing, like, because if I know you're at work, or I know you're at your boys, or I know you're at wherever, the casino, I don't care where you go. If I know that you're there, I know you're in that place. But the moment you leave that place, you could be driving down the street, like you could be pulled over, to your point, like you will FaceTime your woman if you like. Those are the things. You could be in a bad situation. You stopped by a bar and some shit goes down that you weren't involved in, and like, so those are the things that run through my head. It's not necessarily you're going to get grabbed or snatched on the road, or even that you're cheating, because you can cheat even if I know where you are, right? Like cheating is a choice that you decide to make, and it doesn't matter whether I can track your location or not. You're going to do what you're going to do. But my concern has always been like, being a black man in America is hard, and I've got to protect the one that I am with. And this is kind of how that's my part of protection, if that makes sense, in making sure that we're checking in and I kind of know where he is. And if God forbid anything happens, I see anything on the news, I can be like, well, my man wasn't there, so I don't have to worry.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, and again, it's love, right? Like, it's that love language, it's that communication. And I think it goes back, because we're always going to bring it back to, it goes back to communicating as to why we're doing the things that we're doing, right? It isn't just, babe, share your location with me. It's, babe, hey, listen, I think it's best that we share locations for these reasons. Again, for me and mine, it would be because we're definitely in different countries. And even though, God forbid, like, it's not like he can just jump in a car and come grab me, but God forbid anything happens, he can call one of my best friends, he can call whatever and be like, yo, like, haven't heard from her in a while, like, checked her location, whatever the case might be. And they all have it, and so they can kind of, jump at alert or whatever. That's my thing. But I think it's that communicating as to why you want to do it. If it is that, like that man said, I just don't trust you, then that's a bigger issue. That's nothing to do with the check-in.
No, I understand. And with everything you just said, because we are speaking on love and all that relationship, right? So you said this, as soon as your man steps out the house to go to work, it's like you're on tense mode, right? Because he got to get to work, then come home, right? All that's included. So I don't think a lot of that is unpacked more as far as the daily the daily stress of a black man. Now, all men, mainly the black man, because we got to throw skin color in it, because
absolutely
right. So it's like,
I wouldn't be worried if my man was white. If he got in his car, went to work, he white. Like, activate white privilege, please.
That part right there. So, because we are speaking about the love language and everything else, so that plays a role. And I don't think some women know about it, but they really don't like, oh yeah, I know you got to go out there and survive the cops and survive work and all that and get back home. Like, you think it's easy or normal, right? But that is a daily, for most men, not all black men, but for most men, we're conscious of that. Like I get at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So on top of this, trying to drive to work, I got 1, avoid theirs. 2, I got to avoid cops because I know they're out, right? And I kind of know where they be hanging out now because I do it so frequently. But 3 o'clock in the morning, black man driving, playing music.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't got no one I'm checking in right now, but the point is, if I did, I'm sure they could be worried because anything can happen during our time frame. There's not a lot of witnesses out there, right? It comes out of he said, she said. And if we're being honest, there's a million videos out there that show that, cops ain't always the most honest person in the world. So is that always, I'm just putting out there saying that there's always a daily stress level as a black man that I and the rest of us have when it comes to dealing with the world. So with all that being said, now, when we come home to a woman, like, you have to understand, we got to decompress that part, and we want to be able to come home. Let's add that layer in there too. But I'm not trying to get off topic. I'm just trying to throw that in there, like, put it more emphasis on it, because I don't think a lot of women really understand the stressor that we have. And we understand the stress that a black woman has as well. We completely understand that 100%. We do. And I'm not trying to make it about all men, but it goes both ways. But you have to understand, we step outside, it's like, All right, Lord, let me get there and get home. Amen.
I pray over my men, right? Like that's the thing about it is, and I get it, like our struggle as a Black woman isn't the same in terms of like I don't necessarily worry about when I get stopped by the cops if I'm gonna die. Like it actually is not something I've ever thought of. I have flirted my way out of tickets to the point where my daughter had like a whole thing. My mother was dying. One time, this is actually a funny story. My daughter was maybe 5 or 6, and you realize the children are watching because I flirted my way out of a ticket before. And when the officer came up to like the window, was like,
Right.
"Hi, officer," and I did this whole thing. So the officer comes, I get pulled over. The officer comes to the car, and I hand him my license and registration. My mom's in the front, my daughter's in the back. She's like 6. We're headed to her birthday party. My daughter turns around and goes, "Mommy, what happened to you saying hello, officer?" And she changes her voice and sticks out her chest. I was like, "Little girl, your grandmother's here." And my mother was dying because of the fact that clearly my daughter had seen me flirt my way out of tickets. So for me, I just always go to my femininity. Black woman or not, I'm attractive, and I just rely on my femininity. So like that's not the concern. For more of our things, I think it's workplace struggle and all of those things. I never really think about the others. And maybe I should, but it's just not my daily struggle. Where if I'm honest, when I would be in the car with my significant others and we get stopped and he's driving, even if he's in the car and I'm driving, all of a sudden I feel tense, especially in America, because again, I'm in this car with this Black man and God knows what BS this cop is on. So when he's by himself, oh no, I am praying over him. I am praying he comes home. I want to know when he got to work. All of those different things, especially when you live in certain states and historically, you know, those certain states just don't deal well with Black men. I'm worried, and I think it's also the way we have to communicate it. I'm just going to go back to the C word, right? It's also the way we communicate it, because sometimes it can seem overbearing. Babe, can you let me know when you get home? Babe, can you let me know when you get to work? Like those are the things. If I'm not saying, just because it alleviates my stress to know that you're in the place that you're supposed to be, and when you're leaving that place, please let me know, because then I can know that you're on your way. Like there's things like that I think as women we can better communicate, so it doesn't seem like it's just a checkup or it's an insecurity. It is just a innate desire to want to make sure that the person that you love is safe.
Nothing wrong with that. And as long, like I said, communication has to be there, and it does have to go both ways, right? You can't ask me about where I'm going or what time I get there when I ask you you're MIA, or you talk about, oh, my phone died. Oh, now that right there kind of hit a nerve for me, because it's 2024. They got car chargers, they got charger packs. Like, you know, there's no excuse now as a woman, your phone should ever be dead. I know you be on your phone all day, all night long, but the fact that you can go MIA for some time frame, like that, I have no tolerance for. Like that, well, that's like a deal breaker for me. I know we don't talk about that, but like that's.
Well, it's funny. My phone did die the other day. It is the first time my phone had died in years, and we were taking Ubers. I forgot to bring my charger, but it also died because I was at a party, literally FaceTiming my man. Okay, like I am that person, right? So I FaceTimed my man in the party a couple of times, and all of a sudden by the end of the night, but as soon as I got home, I plugged it in, I charged it, I let him know, babe, I'm home, I'm good, right? But I get your point, right? If it is that I'm gonna ask something and expect something of you, I have to do the same thing. I have to do the same expectations. And I think that's where, again, the communication comes in. I can't ask something of you that I'm not willing to do myself. And again, I'm always gonna provide my reasoning because I don't. This might sound awful. I'm just gonna say this might sound awful. I don't know if I dated men that were smaller in stature. I'm gonna try to be politically correct. I don't know if I would feel the same innate wanting to protect my man if he was small in stature. Now, I'm not saying that men who are 5'8" and below or whatever are not being harassed by cops. That's clearly untrue. They're still Black. But for me, I think it's because I date a certain type of Black men who are getting attention wherever they go. And it automatically says to a cop, if he's tripping, intimidation, intimidation, intimidation. Because it's one thing to see that man in a car, but if you're like, get out of the car, and he steps out of the car and he's 6'9" like my ex, or 6'11" like my child's father, or 6'5" like the ex-husband, or 6'3" like the current boyfriend, and 245 pounds, like it's very different than if you're 5'8" and 175. I don't know how much 5'8" men weigh. But like it's a whole different scenario. Again, not saying that he can't be aroused at 5'8", but for me, because I do date the more intimidating looking men to cops who are looking for something, I think I worry even more.
Makes sense.
Thank you. It makes sense, right?
No, it does. But most men will know that cops are naturally intimidated by a tall Black man. Just point blank, period. I don't understand why, but a tall Black man is just like they're in fear mode. Like they're reaching for their gun, the taser, so we're going to a whole another topic with this, and I'm not trying to, but that is the case. Yeah, how you doing, sir? Like we got to soften our tone, you know what I'm saying? Like I gotta do that work too sometimes, It's crazy how many times that somebody said, I'm walking the hallway right behind somebody, and then like I'm behind you. Oh, you scare me. You can't do that. You're a big Black man. I'm like, I'm only 6 foot. I'm not that big. But you know what I'm saying? But it's just that natural thing of like, a white woman said it to me. So it's like, even though I'm not that tall, but it's still today days, the women or men, they still intimidated by a Black man. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And then granted, I may be the only Black person working for my company in my department, so that doesn't help neither. But anyway.
Yeah, that's one that's got to be tough. Being one of only. I've probably been one of only, but again, I'm still a woman, and
right.
And again, it shows up for us very differently than it shows up for you in the workplace. But anywho, switching gears a little bit, but staying on the idea of love languages, do you think knowing a person's love language is important before getting into a relationship with them?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely a requirement. That's part of the communication part, like getting to know each other. So finding what their love language is will help you love that person better, right? Like imagine dealing with someone who likes to be touched and you're a person who don't like touching nobody. How's that going to work? Matter of fact, how do you even get into a relationship if you don't like touching her and she likes to be touched? Right. And I just don't mean sexual. I'm talking about holding hands, rubbing her feet when she sit down, the small things. So that is something that's required. You need to know before even get into a relationship. You should not be in a relationship with no woman, or vice versa. No woman should be in a relationship with a man if you don't know his love language. Like y'all need to know what y'all like and whatever you don't like. If you jump into a relationship that quick, that is a problem.
Do you think that someone can mold themselves to fit into your love language? So for instance, like my top love languages are quality time and words of affirmation. And quality time for me, again, just because I date long distance, isn't clearly always physically in each other's presence, but it's to your point, those text messages, the phone calls, FaceTime, just kind of those little moments. And of course, like, my man cannot tell me enough how beautiful I am. Like, I love those words, how great I am, how all of those things that I am. But what if a man isn't naturally vocal about how his women looks, for instance, or isn't naturally the man who's going to pick up his phone throughout the day or text or call on his way home or whatever, or doesn't, God forbid, like FaceTime or whatever? Do you think that if he meets a woman and that's her love language and that's the way she loves, do you think he can kind of modify his behavior to suit that if he wants to be with her?
That's where compromise come in. So yes, it can be done. Yes. My question is, in case study, I'm gonna use you and me, right? So you're the type of person who likes to like words of affirmation, right? Oh, you're beautiful. you're sexy or whatever it may be every day, right? So, I hope not every day. But the question I want to ask you is that how often do you have to hear those affirmation? Because let's be real. There's a million dudes every day sliding your DM telling you, hey, beautiful. Good morning, sunshine. And it's right now. You probably got 5 DMs right now talking about, hey, beautiful. So my question to you is, how often do you have to hear those words from your man calling you beautiful? Because mind you, you can't, don't use those DMs. Well, these guys in my DM tell me I'm beautiful every day, but you're my man. You don't say it to me at all. See, the difference is they just want to F you.
Absolutely. 100.
We ain't the same.
100. They're not the same. The thing for me is the I'm beautiful to me only counts from my man, because I'm very well aware that those men are trying to get into my pants, right? The reality is the man who's intentional and is committed to me, that's the man I want to hear it from. Do I need to necessarily hear it every moment of every day? No. Would I like to hear it? Yes, but it's not absolutely necessary. But knowing when he sees me, like for me, when I'll jump on FaceTime with my man and he'll be like, babe, you just look so beautiful. And for me, it's even more because he sees me. He doesn't see me like this. He's never seen me really like this. I don't wear just makeup in the house sitting around. Like he sees me fresh face at my laptop working, like, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of fresh out the shower with moisturizer on my face. It is very rare that he sees me ever with makeup. And so that I think means even more to me, because it's like, this is what you wake up to, right? As opposed to this glam person that I only am once or twice a week. So I think for me, that's why it matters, because the guys on the internet see the glam, right? They see the me that I want the internet to see. They don't see the everyday me without makeup. And so I think that's why for me, that's matter. And I always do that. Like anytime I meet someone and I FaceTime them, I've never FaceTime guys with makeup on. I FaceTime them like fresh face, like this is what you get. This is the skin, this is the face, this is the whole thing. And if you don't like it like this, then let's not even move forward. I mean, I'm blessed, so generally that doesn't happen. But for me, I think that's why it matters. So the guys in the DM don't really care about what they have to say, because they're seeing the curated version of Toshiba, but my man gets the real version of Toshiba every day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely answer the question. So yes, you want to hear from your man, and his holds more weight. And because when you do dress up like you are now, it's like, oh, okay, how you doing? I get it. Right? You understand? And I just want to make sure, and it's not really just for you, it's for the audience people, because there's ladies out there, you won't believe it, who will base the relationship based off other men telling them that they're beautiful every day. I'm like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like what is your logic thing in there? Because they want one thing. Like, and my thing is this, their
logic, and this is why they need to come to this show. I'm going to tell you their logic. A lot of women still have not learned the difference. Again, I will repeat over and over again between the difference between attention and intention. I had a lovely guest. I've got to actually put out the clips of her and I did a follow-up with another Kendra G guest a couple of months ago. And this is a woman with 5 kids by 5 men. And when she came on my show the first time and we really broke down this attention versus intention, she said that this was the first time anybody had ever put it the way I put it to her. Right? Because every time she told me about a different father, I would ask her, how was this man showing up in your life? So after baby father number 1, how did baby father number 2 show up in your life? How did baby father number 3 show up in your life? She was like, show up in my life. They were having sex. Like there wasn't, and I was like, okay, so there people were giving you a lot of attention, but none of these men, I think other than the first one, was really intentional about you, yet you still went out and had their babies. And as women, we need to learn the difference between attention versus intention. Again, I get a lot of attention on the internet. That's what those DMs are, and those likes and those heart emojis and the fire emojis under my pictures. But are they intentional about the life that they want to live with me and the things that they want to do? No. They want to see how quickly they can get under this dress, and that's pretty much it. But a lot of us haven't learned that lesson, or we just don't want to. We don't care, because the reality is our attention, like some women are craving attention and they're starving for attention. And so unfortunately, they don't care which way they get it. And that is actually, I think, what's leading to this multiple baby father of children situation, because they are now craving this attention. This man comes into their life, giving them the attention that they're lacking. They mistake it for intention, and bingo bango, all of a sudden a man who came for sex ended up with a family.
Message.
And we got to do better with that, right? And I think I think that's the unfortunate part, is the moment we actually stop and really take a look at how is this person showing up in my life? How are they showing up in my life? What are they doing to show that they care? And it's funny, like my man broke it down the other day to me because I kept bothering him about something. And he was like, babe, listen, I can say all of the nice things that I can say to you right now, and it doesn't mean that I mean any of them. Okay? He said, the only way you are going to know if I mean what I'm saying is through my actions. That's it.
That's it.
He said, period, point blank. So if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, then we have a conversation after I don't do what I said I was going to do. But I said I was going to do something, and until I don't do it, you're going to believe me. If I don't show up when I said I'm supposed to, then I was like, okay, bet, I'm done. I ain't got nothing else to say. But a lot of us hear the pretty words, especially when they come from pretty faces. Every woman believes that they deserve a beautiful looking man. We do. Not all of us. Most of us are average, right? Like I'm not. I'm just call it what it is. I'm above average. And so I expect to get something above average. But average women, because of the internet and the like buttons and the instant gratification and the hey beautifuls and hey things in their DMs, they now feel that they want something above average. And when that something above average comes, this is why the reality is, Kevin Samuels used to say it all the time. Kendra G is now saying it, right? Like 80% of us date 20% of the same men. We do.
You said it, not me.
And those men are handsome and tall and athletic or have money, whatever it is that the criteria is, it is that it is. And those men get to have the run of the kingdom with us women. And they say something and they go, ah. And we are not watching any actions at all. And then when the man is gone, he's the asshole, but never once did that man tell you that he had any intentions for you. Yeah, I'm doing the silence for a reason. Like,
hey, moment of silence. But that's a fact, though. I mean, that is a fact. I mean, these men out here who don't have intention, they get the best version of all the women out there.
ooh.
They get the best. They get everything out of them, and then there you go. And then when a guy comes around and he wants to not put his foot down, but he has more expectation, want to hold you accountable for certain things, you wouldn't give us pushback. Like, I'm not doing that. I don't want that. No. Like, how dare you tell me no, or how dare you say you ain't gonna do this, but you gave the Pookie the best year of you and the best time of you, or even you gave him the best. You gave him the ultimate prize. You know what I'm saying? That's a child.
I know. What is the Pookie? I still want the breakdown. What is, like, because Pookie is a term that mostly Americans use. Like us West Indians don't really use the term Pookie. So what is a Pookie? Like, because remember when we interviewed Mike, right? Like Mike. They called him a Pookie, but in my mind, a Pookie's always been like maybe a good looking, like maybe unemployed guy, or like Pookie is like the drug dealer. But I've also heard now Pookie can be men who are still ambitious and well-spoken, all of that, but maybe have multiple children by multiple women or something. Like what is actually a Pookie?
I mean, so for my opinion, because I don't have the exact details, but what a Pookie in Riri is will be a guy who can, you know, he got the swag, right? He got the
Right.
swag that the woman like. You know, I mean, he got all the girls. You know, he's handsome or he's built, got a nice car. You know what I'm saying? He got good things going for himself, which is for the show, the glitz and glamour, right?
Okay.
But he don't got his stuff together. Like he don't got his own crib. He don't got a stable job. He got multiple kids.
Gotcha.
But he's constantly getting the girls. You know what I mean? He might have been like the high school superstar, but then didn't go to college, dropped out, or it could be the dope boy in the hood. He make all the money, got all the girls, but he doesn't have no long-term goals. He don't have his checking account and savings account. That's how bad these Pookies and Ray Rays are. But somehow they're able to finesse all you beautiful women out there to either lay up in your house. And but then if you got a good girl, right, who got her stuff together, I'm gonna get her pregnant. So I got something I can come back to. You know what I mean? It just like easy. They're good finessers. I'll just say that. So give these Pookie and Ray Rays the best of you.
That makes sense. I've never dated a Pookie or a Ray Ray based on that definition. I will say, no, not me. You're not laying up anywhere in my home and not paying a bill. There is no dick that good. Let me tell you this. There is no dick that good that I ever will not have a man pay a bill.
Let me give you this, not just you, but for the ladies in the audience and might listen. A good idea of a Pookie, whatever, Ray Ray, whatever you want to call it, is a guy that you meet who already has kids, right? Could be kid or kids, and he don't take care of them. Meaning that you don't see him that much, you don't hear about him much, or you're always talking about, oh, she won't let me see him, like talk bad about the first mother or the second mother or the third mother, whatever it may be. Those are the ones that will try to make the other woman the bad person because he don't see his kids. But then somehow you fall for whatever he's telling you, and then you get pregnant. Those are it.
Okay.
And most Pookies don't get married. That too. You don't see
don't get married?
No, you don't really hear. You really don't come across a lot of Pookies who are ex-husbands. You really don't. I don't know. I don't know any guy who was married who became a Pookie. I only know the Pookies who never been married but got multiple kids all over the world. Those are Pookies.
Oh, got the world.
So if you know a Pookie was married, I'd like to hear that story. Please drop a comment. If the link is there, please tap in and join the show because I like to hear that. But I never met a man who was married to a woman who became a Pookie. Never.
I mean, I have a question to the ladies. Like, how do you even get moist for a man when he starts talking about like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 baby moms and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? I mean, my ex had 4 kids and he was fine and tall. So, I mean, I guess I excused him for that. But still, I guess he was married. So he definitely wasn't a Pookie. He'd been married.
See, you just proved my point. He was married. It was an ex-husband.
Yeah, he's an ex-husband.
Go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me. So Mr. Mitchell, his Wi-Fi is trash. Oh, okay, he's gonna catch us on the replay. Mr. Try to come back because we need your commentary. Come back.
Yeah, if you go to another room or go outside,
come back. Okay, make it work. No, but that's an interesting part for me because I've never understood that concept. For me, that concept has always been weird when I watch certain shows, for instance, like Fraternity Court, and a woman comes and says, I'm his 5th baby mother and this is like his 8th kid. Like, unless that man lied to you until you were pushing out that kid and said he was childless, and then you found out, like, how do you even lay with a man who's created that many children with that many women? I think I remember telling you the story of met this guy. He was fine. He was like, my type, 6'7", muscular, played ball, all the things. We were chit-chatting. That man said he had 7 children by 7 women. It was no way. No, thank you. I was like, don't even breathe on me. I literally looked at him. I said, don't even breathe on me. because it looks like you breathe on women and they get pregnant. I'm going that way. It couldn't even. So at some point, like, the onus is on me as the woman to be like, no, because you've shown a pattern of behavior that you go in, you start something, but you don't finish it, right? You start a family, and I put that in quotations because most of those babies weren't born out of love. They were born from sex, but they weren't born out of love. But you're starting something and you're continually starting something and you haven't finished any of them. Why would I think that I'm somehow different? I'm not that different. I am not, like, I think as women, sometimes we think we're better, finer, smarter, all of these different things than all of the 6 other women before. Absolutely not. And you're not going to get the chance with me. And I feel the same way about men. Like, I was reading this article the other day, and this guy was talking about, like, you know, he got with this woman who had 3 other kids. He gave her a baby. The woman's mad at him because he really only wants to take care of his kid. They live together. He only wants to take care of his kid. He wants to buy diapers for his kid. He wants to babysit his kid or watch his kid. He doesn't want to do anything for her 3 kids. And I was just like, and he wants to know, like, advice, like, because this is stressing out the household. I was like, why would you get? And then he said, well, why doesn't she get the other fathers of the other children to do what he's doing? And I'm like, but you saw her pattern of behavior. You got with a woman who had shown that she had a pattern of behavior where she has children with multiple men. Like, clearly she's looking for a provider to come in and take care of these kids because she keeps repeating the same thing. What makes you different? Like, I've never understood that. Like, we don't look at people's pattern of behavior to determine a future outcome.
That always seems to blow my mind. Like, that was my cheat code. When anytime I talk to a woman who had kids already, watching that right there for you to explain lets me know how I'm gonna move forward with her, right? And most women that I met early, I'm talking about early when I was dating before I got married, a lot of women who had kids already, I just see how they navigate with their fathers and the kid, XYZ. I just knew you was only temporary. You was never my long term. Because you didn't, like you said, I watched, you didn't show me how you being intentional. So I'm like, you got 1, 2, 3. So I'm not coming here to save you. No. Especially when you're not holding other men accountable. I'll be a fool to get you pregnant now. Because then you won't expect me to take care of all your kids. Like that guy, right, you just told about. Yeah. I don't buy gifts to my son or daughter, but you and like, oh no, what about my other ones? Well, get them to do it. But that'd be my fault though. If I got her pregnant and had a kid with her, that'd be my fault because I had the attention to pay attention to see how she handled it. So yeah.
That's my point. Like, that's the point for me, because at some point, like, if I'm seeing that that's the pattern of behavior, why in the world would I allow your raw peen in my vajayjay without protecting myself in some way, right? Like, I get it. We can all agree. Unprotected raw sex, as they call it, feels great. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's skin to skin contact. Woohoo, hallelujah, right? However, if you are looking at doing that with someone who you know you have no intentions for, who has shown you a pattern of behavior, like, this is not a person I can settle down with, they're for right now, but they're not forever, why would you even take those chances? Like, I think we said in another show, I said, you know, a few months ago, if you look at that person and you can't imagine that they would be the mother or father of your child, wrap it up and protect yourself. It's the easiest thing to do. If you want to go out and have sex and do the thing, great. But there are 65 million forms of contraceptives, okay? You go into the condom aisle, there's all kinds of different types. They're ribbed, they feel natural, there's small ones, there's big ones, there's all types of ones. You tell me you can't just stop at the pharmacy and stock up? So I've never understood that thinking of, I see this person, I'm looking at the pattern of the behavior, they're for right now, but can never be my forever. But then you lay down with them and have potentially forever baby-making sex. From a man's perspective, how does that even happen? She already got 3 kids by 3 different men. You already seen what she's doing. She's popping out babies like souvenirs. Why would a man in his right mind put his raw penis without finding out if this woman is on birth control, has the IUD, has the patch, or even keeping a supply of Plan B by the I don't know, something.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the reason why, because we're not thinking with this head. That's why. And more likely, I say this: most men are not chatty patties, but once you become the neighborhood jump off, right? If you're known to have that good what, dudes always want to, hey, I want to try. Everybody keep talking about it, and that's how some dudes get caught up.
What?
Got that good, what they call it now? These young folk, they call it WAP, right? Got that good WAP, right? So there's so many things that's come involved with it. But let me reel it back for a second. Back to your love language. So you love language, the affirmation. So in a situation where you're not getting the affirmation as you need it, right? It starts dying down. How would you communicate to your significant other that, you're not getting that affirmation that you need? So one, it don't come at them as like, you need to do this and I need this from you, or, not threatening, but it's more of a communication like, babe, I'm not getting what I need. What does that look like?
That's a very excellent question, twins. And you are right. I would not be going about it with the you're not giving me. The type of men that I date, that doesn't work with them anyways. Like, I'm not getting ish with that type of behavior. I think for me, it's, you remember when we talk about check-ins, right? Like, it's that check-in. When we're doing our check-ins and we're expressing what's going on, I think for me, during one of my check-ins, I'd be like, babe, you know what? Like, I really love when you tell me how beautiful I am, or when you notice, if I've changed my hair, or if you make comments, about the lipstick or how my makeup looks or whatever. And recently I noticed that you haven't been saying that. Is there something that we need to talk about? Because I miss those moments, right? I wouldn't do it as it's accusatory, or why the hell are you doing it? Are you cheating? Like, what the hell's going on? That type of thing. I would express it that I'm missing something that he used to do. I want to express how that makes me feel. And I want to address if there's something going on that might, he's not even thinking about that, because sometimes he may not even be thinking about that because there's shit going on at work, or, what I'm saying? Like, there's shit going on in the family. And that's something that, like, I would do it, but I got all these things in my head. And if we can get that out on the table, then I can try to help him with whatever's going on with him. And he can, go back to the man that is giving me all that attention. Or if it is something that's wrong with our relationship, then we're addressing it right then and there. And I think that's why, when we talked about making sure that you have weekly check-ins in the relationship, it's ensuring that nothing builds up to the point where it blows up and you can't get over it.
You hit it, everything on top of the nail. You actually hit it twice. And ladies and gentlemen, the main thing to correct it or speak on it is having the weekly check-ins, weekly or month, however you decide to do them. Make sure you stay consistent with them with those check-ins. Just that simple.
It is, because, and I think it's also, really going to therapy before things get too hard, right? A lot of people go to therapy to fix them after something's already broken. You have to understand, I don't know if you've ever had a dish that's broken in half. If you try to glue it back together and stick it, you might succeed in doing it, but the plate is never the same. Never the same. When a relationship is broken, trying to fix it and put it back together, it's just not going to be the same. So you're not going to go back to those moments of 2-3 years ago, because you let things build up. But if something happens within a week, address it within that week. If something happens within a day and you can address it within that day. My boyfriend thinks I'm annoying because again, he understands my love language. I want to hear from him all the time. He's like, babe, I'm busy. Okay. But I'm addressing with him like that day. I haven't heard from you. You didn't answer my call. He's like, that's because I'm busy. Love you. Bye. Like, it's one of those things, right? Like, here you go. Here's your check-in. I'm good. But I'm not going to wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then yell at him and be like, over the last couple of weeks, you haven't done this and I don't like this and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to address it as diplomatically as I can in that moment. And the best thing for me is I need to address it in a way that he will receive well. Just because I'm telling you something doesn't mean that you're going to receive it well, because it is also about the delivery, which is why in my example, I tried to do a delivery which was an accusatory. It was just like, hey, you know what? I love when you do this. I've noticed that you haven't been doing it. Like, do we need to address something? Is there something going on that we need to talk about as a couple? Because I want to get back to those moments, right? Not like I noticed that you haven't done that. Are you effing some other girl and what the hell is going on? Like, that's just not an approach that I think most men would respond to. And so how does your partner best receive information, especially when it's maybe considered negative information? And that's a question to ask. If a woman said to you, hey, twins, if I had to deliver something negative to you, if I wanted to address something to you that I don't like, how would you want to receive it? Is that a question, first of all, you've ever been asked? And if you've been asked it, kind of what was your response?
So no, I was never asked that question, right? Or that way you just said it. But how I would like it is how you would just explain it. I like how you used to do X, Y, Z. I like how instead of the accuse me doing something else, like, well, you ain't doing this no more. So is there someone else? Like, how we go from I'm not doing something, all of a sudden now I must be talking to another B. You know what I mean? Like, how we go from now you accuse me. Now I feel like I'm on trial versus trying to communicate with each other to make sure we keep the fire lit. The fire start dying down a little bit. I'm trying to keep that spark alive. So the way you just did it was perfect. That's how I would like to have it.
Thank you. Listen, I have worked on myself over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't always this woman, but you evolve because you want to get better. And listen, therapy is a hell of a thing, right? Like, and it's funny because I said it on another show a couple of weeks ago. At some point when you are failing, you keep failing at something that you desire, you have to start questioning, why am I failing? And what do I need to do to ensure that I don't fail? I was failing at having a successful relationship, and it was something that I desired, right? Shit, in some ways, maybe I just recently failed because I'm out of a relationship, a year ago, right? So even within this year of trying to figure out the missteps that I took in my previous relationship, what can I do better? What did I fail at, right? Like, what did I just outrightly suck at? What things did I ignore that I shouldn't have? What things do I need to change in myself so I can be better received by another relationship when I'm in it? It's a constant work that I have to do with myself and ask myself and ask my partner, right? Like those things, and also understanding what partner works for you, right? Just because somebody meets your checklist of requirements doesn't necessarily mean that they'll work for your life. Because I have a checklist. I have a very extensive one, to be honest, but there's also a personality type that comes with that checklist. And does that personality type work with my personality type? And it's funny, I was talking to my girlfriend Joanna today, who was, one of the main people when I started this show. She's basically the creative director of the show. And I was talking about my previous relationship versus my current relationship, and some of the things that I appreciate about the current relationship that personality-wise was missing from my previous relationship, and how important I now recognize those things are, and why I think me and my current get along so well is because we have certain similarity and certain personality traits and certain things that sometimes as women we miss out on because we see the big shiny package that is in front of us, and we don't think long term, can this person really be my friend? Is this person somebody I would just hang with naturally if we were not together? There's certain questions I think that we miss, but we have to be open to not responding when someone asks, why did your last relationship not break up, and automatically blaming the other person. I take full ownership as to why my last relationship didn't work. I can break down all of the things that I did that contributed to the demise, and I had to make sure that I work on not overlooking certain things, to ensure that when I got into a new relationship, that I wouldn't repeat the same mistakes.
That's good. It sounds like you got some healing done before you move forward into a new one.
I
Got
had
healing and you got closure.
I did. Because there was no way for me to proceed forward holding on over there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like when you have a child and maybe the children are being exchanged by the parent, and maybe the daughter is leaving the father's house and going to the mother, and the mother's trying to get the child, but the child's still holding on to daddy because daddy's where the child wants to be with, right? And mom has to pry the child away. That's how some of us are trying to get into new relationships. We're still hanging on to that old relationship and saying that we want to be in a new relationship. And if you're still attached to that man, it's almost like that new man is trying to play tug of war with you to bring you to his side. And I don't want any man doing that for me. Any man who has made the decision to be intentional about me deserves all of me, not a portion of me, because I'm still stuck over here holding on to my past.
Got it.
And that's, I think, even going back to the original video, that's part of some of those insecurities with those. To your questions, okay, I know where you're going, but who gonna be there? What you gonna be doing? All of those things. That doesn't actually have anything to do with you. That's all of the other times some man told her he was going somewhere only for her to find out that he lied and then he cheated on her and all of those things. And you are now the new man in her life, and she's being triggered by her past, but you're getting the brunt of that. My man deserves none of that. And so before I ever get into anything new, I have to rid myself of anything in the past. And whether it's going to therapy, whether it's talking to friends, I personally meditate every day. I try to get things out. I try to think through conversations. Like if I have to have a difficult conversation with my partner, I actually run through the conversation in my head and thinking about all the different scenarios based on how I say things before I even bring it to them. I'm generally not a knee-jerk reaction person. Like I try to think things through, especially if I want this relationship to continue and I want this particular outcome, understanding who I'm dealing with, here are some ways I might want to deal with it. And if I see that during the process of the conversation, it's not going the way it's supposed to, I might go back and be like, babe, I can see that you're not receiving this well. Maybe we need to stop having this conversation, or you just, I let him say whatever he needs to say. I think we just have to be mindful of that, because relationships are a two-way street. They're not just about you and your issues. There's another person you're trying to integrate yourself with. But I just had my TED talk, so.
But that is true, though. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? So if you can say the same thing two different ways, and it comes out, it'll have two different meanings or how someone can receive it. So I'll tell anyone, when you have a conversation with your significant other, you should actually role play it first in your head, or say the question to yourself first and see how it come out. And like, how would I receive this question if I ask myself this, or if he asked me this, or if she asked me this, right? Like we're so quick to just say whatever comes to our mind and not really think about what you just said or how it's said. And then it's like, I'm supposed to accept it, how you said it now, and then if I bring it to your attention, like, I don't like how you said that. Well, that's how I talk. Yeah, this ain't gonna work out.
I love how you just turned like, yeah, this ain't gonna work out.
This ain't gonna work out. Mind you, that's the 42-year-old Dwayne speaking. This ain't the 27. Like, okay, no, 42. No, okay, this ain't gonna work.
Have you been in a situation where you're just in the space and you look at a woman?
Now, it's like I have a zero tolerance.
Do you let women know that up front now that you're dating? Like you're very clear in terms of what your boundaries are? Because I find that for me, I'm definitely much clearer on what these boundaries are, and also kind of setting the expectation of right away of what it is that I'm looking for out of whatever the situation is, right? Like I'm very clear on this is the time I'm on, and if you're not on the same time, let's not waste each other's time, right? This is kind of the boundaries and the expectations I have. If these are things that just don't align with you, let's not, like, I'm very big on let's not waste each other's time. I am the person though, like I'm not the person who, if I see a red flag, immediately I'm going to jump ship. And I say that because sometimes as you're getting to know someone, you don't necessarily know what quote unquote triggers them, right? And I think a lot of red flags that people see that are actually not red flags may come from triggers in their past, right? And I think going back to communication, I think if something comes up where I'm like, that made me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to address it and be like, twins, you know what? You may not have meant it this way, but I'm going to just tell you that in that moment, I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm going to be explaining to you why. And I'd really appreciate it moving forward that you don't do that. Now, if you do it again, bona fire for you, like Jamaicans would say, bona hua fire. And, you know, this is when I would say, yeah, I'm done. But I think sometimes we're quick to dismiss people and say things are red flags that might just be triggers for us. And I think the key is addressing with the person and then seeing how they react after you've addressed the situation.
So, for example, I got it. So when you just said there, example, you just said, I don't know how you said that, right? Maybe you feel a certain way. Do you give that person the opportunity to explain, like, you know what? Like, I'll start right there. Do you give them the opportunity to explain yourself?
Yeah.
Or do you just keep going and move forward?
No, absolutely give them the opportunity to explain themselves, because it's like we're constantly evolving and getting to know each other, right? Like sometimes we don't even know ourselves, right? Sometimes you don't even know something triggers you until it triggers you, right? So I think, if I'm expressing something to you, right, I'm giving you the opportunity to respond, because I've had men in my life, like I'm a spoiled brat, like I'm honest about that. Like I am a daddy's girl, and I was spoiled through and through. I don't open my own doors when men are around. I'm clearly not taking it, like that's ridiculous. I'm not opening my own doors. There's certain things I just don't do, right? Especially when a man is around. And I don't open my own car doors, like none of them. And I remember I went on a date with a guy, again, tall, handsome, pro ball player, the whole thing. He came to pick me up, and he went around to go into his car, and I stood at the door, kind of looked at me, came back around, and he opened the door, and I sat back in. And he was like, interesting that you did that. I said, listen, I grew up with a father, and this was the thing. My father feels like if there's a man around, I don't put my own gas, I don't open my own doors, I don't do certain things, right? Telling him that, he then, as we went to the restaurant and did everything, he opened all of the doors. And he said to me, you know what's so interesting, Toshiba? Most women would never tell me that. Most women are generally just happy to be going out with me, that they just let me do whatever, and none of them ever addressed me. He's like, I appreciate the fact that you said that and you had standards, because it was either he was going to rise to those standards or say, fuck you, bitch, get out of my car, right? Like, I'm not, like, Ness, I'm not doing none of that shit, right? Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy, right? And some men would be like, I don't give a shit what your daddy said, right? Like, that's just not me. But for him, it was like, if you don't teach me how to treat you, how do I know? Because if you just accept mediocre treatment, well, I'm going to give you mediocre treatment.
That's key right there, because right there, what you're doing is setting the tone. You're setting the tone, because as men, I said before, we will do whatever you allow us to do. If you don't require me to open the door for you open the door, car door, pump your gas, I'm not going to do it. But if you require me to do it, I'm going to do it because I know what she likes. You set the tone early.
You have to set the tone early. And that's why listen, it doesn't matter how many seasons that Twins and I will be doing this show, we're always going to come back to that communication piece, right? Like, and it's interesting for me, because I think even more so for me, because I generally do long distance relationships. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I had a relationship with somebody that was in a 25-kilometer radius. It's been years. Like, years and years and many years since I've been with someone who's probably lived in the same city. So for me, that's one of the skills that I'm really good at, because when your partner lives in an entirely other country or city or state or province or parish or whatever, communication is what gets you through.
Yeah. That is,
Because if you're not communicating, it's you don't have the physical touch, right? Like if I get mad at my boyfriend, there's no makeup sex to happen. He doesn't come home and bends me over and does all that. We have to talk through it. I have to completely talk through it. So for me, I think over the years, because of my experience in long distance relationship, it's one of my strengths is to be able to effectively communicate my feelings and thoughts in a way that my partner can receive and doesn't make them go, which a lot of us don't do. But when you're physically together all the time, and sometimes instead of communicating, we run to the makeup sex, right? We run to the physical. She gets, you get mad at her, you don't talk to her. She's like, babe. She comes and she hugs you and, starts to nibble on you or something, and it leads to the sex. The problem's never resolved. You guys just had sex. So now you've got pheromones and things are happening. But the issue of why you decided to give her the silent treatment was never resolved. In my type of relationships, they have to be resolved, because ain't no man getting on a plane to travel hundreds or sometimes thousands of miles to come see me if I'm on some bullshit.
facts. Facts. On some bullshit. Nah, I do the groceries for all that. I'm gonna book a ticket, have my passport, and then you on some BS. We ain't doing that. I'm not.
Yeah,
doing
insurance on that ticket. They'll cancel that crap real quick. And so, right, like it's one of those things. So I think one of the things is even understanding what kind of love you don't receive, right? Like to the point, like it's understanding your love language, but also understanding this type of love makes me uncomfortable. And if I'm with someone who's giving me this type of love, it's just not something that's gonna work well with me. And seeing that pretty early. I mean, to our point last week about finding the one, you kind of know certain things. Like as a woman, we know who we're gonna have sex with pretty early, like fairly early. Like I've met guys that I'm telling you, no matter what they could give me the moon, the stars, and they have tried. I have been on dates that probably cost people's rent. Well, maybe in 2020, before COVID, 2019, because inflation is a hell of a thing, right? But I've been on dates where guys have just spent, and nary a kiss did they get, because I had already determined I wasn't having sex with you, like at least not right away. Like you might win me over time, but it wasn't that right away, right? So I think there's certain things that we know right away, and I think when we're meeting someone and getting to know them, and there's certain things that you go, that wouldn't work with me, like how somebody deals with like conflict, right? Like very early in a relationship. That should tell you something. Do they deal with it diplomatically? Are they like over the top? Are they giving you the silent treatment? Are they blocking you? And your whatever happens, I don't know what happens, like you can't see the check marks or whatever. Like, what are they doing? And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, you're unblocked. Like, I can't deal with a person who does that. And so if you decide to move forward with that person, that's on you, because they've shown you very early on, this is how they deal with conflict. And if you are the person who wants to address conflict right away, I don't care how fine that man is. No, thank you.
That's fair.
That's how it works. So as we wrap up for the night, what is your dating tip for this week?
Dating tip, season 6. Ah, man. I mean, this whole episode was a dating tip. I'm just saying. I'll let you go first. Let me think of something real quick. Go ahead. Ladies first.
I would say let's go into understand your triggers and deal with those triggers before starting to move in to a situation. Right, move on into a new situation. because I think what happens is we lose perfectly good relationships because we haven't resolved some of our past. And some of the things that trigger us aren't really triggers, they're just unresolved issues that we need to deal with. So basically, don't bring unresolved issues into a new situation.
Okay.
Make sure that you understand all of the things that can create havoc in a new relationship, and whether it's therapy, whether it's meditation, whether it's talking out with your girlfriends, whether it is, taking time out to deal with those things, but definitely don't bring them into a new relationship, because nobody wants someone to bring havoc into their life. So that would be my dating tip.
Okay. And the day tip that I have to think about it is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? I'm gonna say this again. Before you say something to somebody about whatever it may be, say it, role play yourself. Say it to yourself in your head before you say it out loud, right? And then if you do say it and then it comes out wrong, you know what? Let me correct it. This is what I mean by that. I'm meaning by this, right? Because it's all about delivery. How you say things can dictate how the conversation goes, right? And be willing to listen for the feedback, right? If they receive a certain way, say another way. If you didn't mean it, tell them right then there, I didn't mean it that way. And the person who's receiving it, don't wait until 2-3 days later and be like, we're in a conversation we had on Monday and you said this. Don't wait 2 or 3 days, because that person probably forgot what was said at that moment. Address it at that moment, right? Even during the thick of things, just address it at that moment so we're all on the same page. So once again, it's not how you say it. No, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's my tip.
Amen. Because that actually was the definition of fuck your feelings. How this show even came together is it was about understanding the difference of that. Listen, we create content, guys. Make sure that you're liking, sharing, subscribing. Each week I am going to be putting the link in to the comment section if you want to come on and share your thoughts and share your experiences, because we do want to change the conversation around Black relationships. And I think we're doing a really good job of bringing really important topics and things that you need to consider. This show is not for the youngins. You guys have other shows, or it is for some of the youngins who want to learn from the aunties and the uncle about right, from auntie and uncle.
You're right. Yes, because we're not grandparents, so you're right. Aunties, uncles.
No, we auntie and uncle. Okay, you want to learn from auntie and uncle. Okay, because I'm Auntie Sheba all around. So you want to learn from auntie and uncle, but for those of us mature people who have been through some things and want to make sure that we don't bring baggage into new situations and miss out on our blessings, Fuck Your Feelings, the show, is definitely the place to come so we can have these grown up conversations. We are not here to be divisive. We are actually here to have meaningful, thoughtful, respectful conversation to help bring us back together. So those are my final words for the night. I appreciate for those of you who are watching live and those of you who will watch on the replay. If you like the show, again, like, subscribe, share, comment, any topic ideas, feel free to let us know. Or next week, just jump onto the show and join the conversation. Any last words?
Everybody have a good night and continue to like and share.
Good night. Bye.